A couple of months back I got asked to review a spotting scope made by a company called SvBony, the SV46. I've actually never owned a scope, and as I like to do some bird photography, I agreed to review it. In the box came a fairly lightweight tripod, a case for the scope, a lens cloth, instructions if you're that kind of person, and the scope itself. So just starting out with the scope, just my thoughts on it. Firstly, I think it's actually rather nicely built. Now, considering that a high-end scope is in around $2,000 or more, it is very, very decently priced. It's rather lightweight and it's relatively compact as well. There are smaller scopes, but in terms of what I'm used to with carrying around big camera gear and big lenses, I actually find that this is a very light device. There's a nice rubberized hood on the front here that lets you slide it in and out if you're looking towards the sun. It might stop a little bit of haze and a little bit of flaring there. There's also a little groove here which helps you sight in the object you're trying to see through the scope. Now, I will say that when you're using scopes, after a while you will get used to lining stuff up. The zoom on the SvBony moves quite smoothly and it goes from 20x right up to 60x zoom. Now, I will say that at 20x there is a little bit of sort of diffraction around the edge of the image when it's fully zoomed out. And when you fully zoom it in to 60 as well, you lose a lot of brightness. And I find that the sweet range is between about 35 and about 45. I actually think that the device performs best in that range. It will let you just pop out the little eyepiece there if you're going down to about 20. Sometimes when you're in the lower zoom range, it's easier to use the actual scope with the eyepiece out like that. It just works better. And if you're up around 60 then, in the higher range, it works better when that's pushed right down. Now, in terms of focus, there's two wheels here. You have the inner wheel and you have the outer wheel, and the two of them are sort of linked together. If you spin the inner wheel, you can see the outer wheel is spinning quite fast. It's like a gearing mechanism. So generally you want to get big zoom ranges with the inner wheel. If you want to go from, we'll say, 50 meters away to 500 meters away, a little turn of the zoom wheel there will actually bring you quite a distance. And then if you want to just fine tune it, you can use the outer wheel. So who should buy the SV46 scope from SvBony? I think in general, people who just want to get into bird watching, wildlife spotters, bird spotters, people who want to get out into nature and just see what's out there, I think it's a great introductory scope at a great price for that. SvBony actually sent me this thing as well. This is an adapter which lets you actually fit your camera onto the scope. So I'm attaching it right down here to the very bottom. Digiscoping is basically attaching your camera to the scope so you can capture either an image or a video. This can be handy for when you spot something you want to keep a record of, be it an animal or bird. To be honest, the image captured through the scope onto the camera's sensor isn't as good as when you look directly through the scope. Purple fringing is really apparent, and with all those micro jitters from the long zoom throw, the rolling shutter in the camera really goes nuts. But if you want to capture something very distant like this rare marsh harrier to prove that you saw it, then it can be nice to have the option of digiscoping. Okay, I'm going to try and get the moorhen. When I reverted back to the camera with my zoom lens, it all became so easy. Zoom power isn't here in the Canon lens, but man, looking through the lens compared to looking through the scope, it's a world of difference. Getting good results when digiscoping takes a bit of effort and skill, but you can invest in some extra kit to make it easier. Tom Cuff, a well-known local birdwatcher, has a serious digiscope setup and the knowledge to back it up. I got him to try out the SV46 to see what he thinks of it.
Well, for the money that's in it, it's absolutely brilliant. If I had this 20 years ago and a young bird are starting out, perfect, not a bother on it. It gets you there. Just little upgrades now for your camera and a shoe for here, A1, not a bother.
To save time rigging up a camera, you can get a mount for your phone to fit it onto the eyepiece, but I just tried holding up the phone to see if I could get results. Sometimes if you just want proof of a bird sighting, that'll be enough. So to conclude on the SV46, some of the pros are: the scope has decent build and image quality for the money. It has a relatively nice sharp image. It's fast and easy to focus. It's also fairly light and easy to carry. The scope is also quite durable and waterproof. Some of the cons are: it has quite noticeable fringing when viewing white or bright contrasty images. The tripod and case aren't the best quality. You'll definitely want to use a better tripod, and the case isn't that beneficial in the field. Fully zoomed out at 20 magnification, I noticed there was some distortion right around the edge of the image. I found the scope worked best around the 30 to 40x range. I've used the scope a lot since the start of the year, and to be honest, I wouldn't dream of going birding without it. Of course, it won't match the quality of the more expensive premium scopes out there, but it worked really well for me, and I found it to be very handy for spotting birds at a distance. And I've seen a lot of stuff that I just would not have seen if I hadn't brought the scope with me. Thanks again for watching the video, folks. I do hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to leave any questions or comments below, and your subscription to my channel will be greatly appreciated. Check me out on Facebook and Insta too, and until next video, it's over and out from me.